I've had a rather amazing day, and I thought I must actually share this with everybody today because it was just so lovely. As you all know, I'm one of those people who reads number plates. I talk to Spirit as I drive, and of course a number plate pitches up and answers me. And over the past 5 years, one of the number plates that I have seen regularly in various parts of Durban is a number plate that says Lord's ZN. And I have very often, spoken to Our Lady as I drive. I've asked really important questions, and this number plate will come right in front of me or alongside me, and I will feel the presence of Our Lady. It gets validated, and so I have made some life-changing decisions based on seeing this number plate when I ask an important question. And today I went off to the beautician, tralala. Just like, can we have a drum roll on this one? Because I went to get pampered and treated, and I was feeling wonderfully relaxed when I came out, and there was this older woman waiting to see the beautician, and she was very quiet. It was her first time. And gradually she joined the conversation. And I left, and she was sweet. But I didn't see her as, I didn't look at her like I would normally at people. And I went off to leave. As I was driving out, I saw her number plate. And it said, Lord's ZM. And of course, I stopped dead. Oh my God, got out the car, raced back into the beautician, who luckily has one of those cameras and could see me coming. So she opened the door with a flourish. And I dashed in and I grabbed a hold of this woman. And I was hugging her for all I was worth and saying, thank you. And before I knew it, we were both standing there crying. But she had no idea why I was crying. She was just responding to me. So I was telling her how this number plate has spoken to my heart in so many different ways over the past 5 years in the most obscure parts of Durban, and that she had served this purpose. That this number plate that she had served this wonderful purpose for me, and it had taken me on life-changing journeys. And she in turn looked at me completely amazed that this number plate, which is actually her surname and has no meaning to her other than her surname, could possibly have served such a purpose, that it could possibly have had that impact. It was such an unknown thing for her. She doesn't even know who Our Lady of Lourdes is. Needless to say, I had a whole discussion about that as well. And by the time I left, I felt like I had made not just a friend, but that I had reconnected with somebody that I knew. I came away so excited about this. I felt so moved, so profoundly moved by finally knowing who this person was, who was driving this car all over Durban with my Our Lady's name on it. And it got me thinking about how often we are something, that we are doing something, that we are showing the world something, and it has no particular value to us. We take it for granted. And yet for others, it has meaning, it has purpose. There is a ripple effect of every soul present in the world. We are so accustomed to being haunted by the past. We are so accustomed to beating ourselves up about it and regarding ourselves as less because of it. And yet, the past 5 years have had all of these momentous occasions, these moments of deep inspiration and profound changes for me, associated with a total stranger's number plate. So each of us, I think it behooves us to take a look at how we are making miracles in the world unbeknownst to ourselves. How are we contributing to other people's lives just by being who we are? Not interfering, not intervening, not telling them what to do and not to do, but just by being who we are. Do we make strangers smile? I remember Paddy and I used to play rugby in the park, and we used to have a rollicking good time. And then the municipality used to have a magazine. And a friend of mine called me up and said, have you seen this magazine? There's an article about you and Paddy. And again, a total stranger had written in, talking about how we made her day every day, just to see the two of us having such fun in the park, that it was such a lift me up every day when she came to pick up her child from the school across the road. And of course, Paddy and I had no idea that somebody was watching us and feeling better from seeing us every day. We would just go to the park and have fun. Most of us are completely unaware of how we can impact on an entire universe just by being our true selves, by doing the right thing, by following the feeling, by listening to our intuition, by allowing our presence to shine. So when I talk about being a light in the universe, even in your foggiest moments, you are still a light. You can still uplift somebody else and be an act of service, even if you're not feeling like quite the thing today. And from there, just from that understanding, we are able to draw an understanding of our value in the world. Human beings are by and large a really shitty bunch. I mean, seriously, when I look at the way human beings treat each other and I go through all of the stories here in this training room, in a sacred space, and I think of all of the stories that go on in courtrooms and the stories that happen in newspapers and on Facebook and in doctors' offices and hospitals and just in all of these public spaces. I mean, just the story of home affairs is enough to make me cringe about the way human beings treat each other. And very rarely do we share the stories of being inspired by total strangers. Very rarely do we get the opportunity to just hug a total stranger and say, that moved me, that made my day, that uplifted me, that made me smile, that made me laugh. And sometimes we must make a conscious choice to make somebody smile, to make somebody laugh, to share something of our own light in a specific way. Not because it's going to make the other person feel better, not because it's actually going to give them something, that's a wonderful bonus, but because it's going to give you something. It's going to give you the reassurance that you are a light. It's going to give you the experience of feeling yourself as a light. And that's why we do forgiveness. It's the only reason for forgiveness, really, to empty out your own poison, to let go of your own blocks, to heal yourself, to uplift yourself out of wounded and into well. And we do forgiveness so that we can shine a brighter light inside out. And the first place that this light becomes real is in your inner environment. And the more it shines in your inner environment, the more enabled you are to shine it into the external environment where you are acting out yourself. And that's when we begin to talk about what vibes are you sending out? You know, what vibes, what frequency are you transmitting at? We know guides are operating at an exceptionally high frequency and ascended masters at an immensely high frequency. We know angels have an even higher frequency. And we know the ascension model says, I am uplifting my frequencies all the time. But every day we have the opportunity to check, what frequency am I vibrating at now? And how can I uplift that by being of service to somebody else? How can I create a ripple effect? I have all these threads that connect me in the universe. And how do I use those threads? We practice mindfulness to shift our behaviors. We practice mindfulness to change the way we think about the way we think. We work so hard at being better human beings all the time, especially on the spiritual pathway, which is bloody challenging and demanding. So occasionally we must just stop and see how beautiful we actually are, and how this contribution that we're making to the world, this contribution that you have all become so aware of when we got stuck in the Tuesday group, in a synergistic wobble of the group, this energy that we are using all the time and even take for granted is lighting up the universe in unknown ways. And exactly like that new moon lunar eclipse, you cannot see it and you cannot know it, and you might never feel it. You might never meet that stranger who has moved you profoundly. But if you stop and you look at who you've been and what you've done, then maybe you will be able to acknowledge it for yourself. It might be something so little. It might be something so little as telling somebody you're moving out of a parking spot and showing them where it is so that they don't have to look. It might be something as simple as slowing down so that somebody can run across the road safely. It might be something as simple as giving the car guard an extra 5 rand because you have it. You never know what difference you're going to make. But what I know from my own experience is that by being fully present, by talking about what I need to see in myself, by paying attention to what I'm feeling, and very often by just following that feeling, I am making a difference. I am changing things. I'm showing the world that I vibrate at a higher frequency. A lot of people call me regularly to tell me how I have changed their lives with the information that I have channeled for them. And I am one of the first to tell them that no one can change your life. I can talk till I'm blue in the face and give you all the right information, and really it is up to you to change your life. Very often, like with today's client, I can read you the Riot Act and you can either take offense or you can actually listen and want to make a change. That's up to you. But even then, we are sending out a vibration that has ramifications, that has a ripple effect. And part of our mindfulness is to be aware of that ripple effect as a wonderful, fabulous service in the world, even as we are aware of it as something that we need to moderate and temper within ourselves. Welcome, Lou.
Hi.
So, in addition to this fabulous day with this meeting this woman finally and being pampered and all of that, I walked Pandora in the rain this afternoon, and there was an old man in the park walking himself but without an umbrella or anything. So he asked me, "Why are you walking the dog in the rain?" And I said, because, if she doesn't come to the park, she'll miss her walk, and she doesn't mind the rain, so it's okay. Why are you walking yourself in the rain? And I was smiling when I asked it. And he looked at me like he didn't know. He looked at me and I could see that he was undecided about whether to tell me or not. And then eventually he said to me, "I haven't been to confession for a while." So I thought, oh, Christian. Must be Catholic Christian, because Catholics go to confession. And he said, "I haven't been to confession for a while, and I needed to clear my head. I didn't notice it was raining until I got here." Now bear in mind, I've just spoken to the woman who drives a car with the number plate Lords, and here's this man telling me he hasn't been to confession. So I pipe up nicely and I say, well, while you're walking in the rain and you're clearing your mind, you can clear your heart. You can tell Mother Mary whatever it is you would have told the priest, and she will hear you. And with complete eagerness, he stood still, he looked straight at me and he said, "Do you think so?" Do you think she will hear me? And you know when people ask you a question like that, that they're dying for you to say yes. That they really want your answer to be yes, because they want that faith and they want that assurance. And they want to know, really every person wants to know, that they're valuable enough, important to be enough, to be heard by God or some aspect of God. And who am I, really, who am I, to give this man this assurance that Mother Mary will hear him? But I did, because she's heard me so often. So I said, of course she will hear you. She has heard me over and over and over again. And she has answered me. Why would she not answer you? And then, of course, you all know that you can tell when somebody believes you or not. And in this case, he didn't believe me. But we walked around the park and he proceeded to confess anyway. And for a split second there, I thought, okay, maybe he's telling me because Mother Mary will listen through me. And I understand that so many of you and so many of my clients think that if they tell me, God will hear. And if they share it with me, the angels and spirit guides and masters and Shiv and Mother Mary and Shirdi Baba and everybody else in the spirit realm, including dead people, will hear. Because I'm the telephone. And of course I've been teaching you to make your calls directly. So the assurance that we are heard by the unseen is as important as the assurance that your impact in the universe, as unseen as it is. It is present. We talk about the mass consciousness as a space where we are contributing and uplifting all the time, and you and I might never see that change. We might never see that transformation. Zuma and I are going to be one until I die. Bloody hell. Anyway, but it is, and I am assured that it is, because there are so many wonderful things happening in the universe. For those of us who get stuck in one of our archetypes, and we know the 4 primary archetypes are victim, saboteur, inner child, and prostitute. When we get stuck, or we use one of those archetypes as a primary soul lesson in this lifetime, we are challenged by its shadow side over and over and over again. So we must stop and ask ourselves, is there a vibration inside of me that I am transmitting into the universe all the time that declares me a victim, that declares me a saboteur, that declares me a prostitute, that declares me a wounded or abandoned or orphaned child, and that therefore brings that experience of victimhood into my life? More importantly, when it brings me an experience that isn't victimhood, that isn't self-sabotaging, that isn't my prostitution at play, that isn't my inner child getting wounded and bashed around and rejected all over again, when it brings me that experience which is wholesome and loving and declares my light, do I avoid it because I'm too busy transmitting that other vibration as a bad habit? Do I declare it unreal? Do I reject it and push it away because it can't possibly be mine? I haven't seen my ripple effect into the universe, so I do not know that I am deserving of that which is greater than my own value, my self-declared value or lack thereof. I do not know that the wholeness of the universe is mine, and I receive it in my brokenness and reject it simultaneously in my brokenness. Do I sound mad? Yeah, I probably do. Because this experience of doing human that has given us this consciousness from which Jung derived the archetypes. Jung said you can see yourself in the world this way. Freud said you can see yourself in the world that way. We can all see ourselves in the world in any which bloody way you please. But really, people, you can stop and just see yourself as a light. You can stop and see yourself as a human doing with a beautiful light inside. And that light is shining anyway. Regardless of the storm, the lighthouse is shining. Regardless of the fog around you, the light is still there. It's still shining. It cannot be extinguished. It cannot be extinguished. This is the law of energy. And every moment, you have an opportunity to come from that light or to acknowledge its existence. Instead of wallowing in everything else that cannot uplift you and others. And then this, of course, brings us right back to that wonderful choice called free will. Now, most people love this free will until they have to use it. And then of their own free will, they will vibrate to all of the shadow energies and the shadow self of victimhood and prostitute and saboteur and wounded inner child. And even when we're vibrating with that, the universe brings us the best of ourselves outside of ourselves. It still brings us the best of ourselves and produces it for us to choose, to engage with. It brings us that which is perfect for us. And still, oh my God, we're so clever. Oh my God, we're so stubborn. Oh my God, we're so controlling. We will reject it anyway because we always know better. And of course we don't know better because 2 seconds later we're blaming God for something else. God's in charge of the universe. He fucks up royally on a daily basis and he's to blame and it isn't us, but we have free will. And so we're busy rejecting the best of ourselves and wallowing in the worst of ourselves. And it makes me mad. It makes me mad because really, this doing human is not enough. We are all capable of better. I feel all of you in that group chat and the light of you coming through. I see how you uplift each other. And you might not know how you have a ripple effect into each other's lives, but you do. I sometimes just smile as I scroll through the chat and I can feel other people smiling. When Kamini was off on holiday recently sending us beautiful pictures of the moon, I felt everybody's appreciation of it. When we see each other's mandalas, I feel the synergy. When I get messages from my students saying, "Thank you, Guru, I feel so good after that session. I feel blessed. I feel blessed that I can serve my purpose, and I feel blessed that somebody has said something, has actually given it to me consciously." And we can do that for each other and for total strangers. And remember Osho in one of his rare sessions here, and they're rare because we told him not to come, right? Ooh, such a tickling thing. Osho in one of his sessions said, make everybody a stranger. Make everybody a stranger so that it is a person without a past. It is a person who doesn't have a history. Make everybody a stranger so you can meet that person anew. And when I was talking to Larusha yesterday, my guides were telling her a story about something. And I was reminded when I was telling her that I am so blessed. You know, Shiv told me a long time ago, I think it was in a car coming back from Amtata, where he was reminding me that he is in everything. This is Shiv, the consciousness of the universe, that he dances through everything, that I must listen for him in the breeze and in the music around me and the voices around me. But most of all, I must see him in everyone. And that the art of devotion is not just to see Him in everyone, but to consciously work at loving Him in everyone. So now you all know why Zuma is such a challenge for me. When I can see Shiv in Zuma, I will be completely and utterly enlightened and ready to leave the planet. But until then, you're stuck with me. Because really, I can't see Shiv in Zuma. I'm looking. But there's that challenge. For me, that's the challenge. That I must see Shiv in Zuma and I must love Shiv, even in Zuma. And that's what we're doing. We're practicing devotion to each other as a consciousness. We are not separate. We are one. And when somebody tells me that they love me, I want to feel it. You can tell me that you love me until the cows come home, and I won't believe you until I have felt it, and I have reveled in it, and I have laughed with it, and cried with it, and been moved by it. Because then it becomes a living love. And the more you do that, the more you live it, the more you breathe it, the more you make it available inside of yourself and outside of yourself, the more it is exactly the kind of devotion that sees God in everyone. I started by practicing seeing God in my dog because she told me she was a God dog. And then of course in other people's dogs, and eventually in their cats, and in the trees and in the flowers, and just consciously seeing it there. Not just thinking God is in everything, because that's easy for people. God is in everything, and then you slap your child one and you completely forgot that's God. It's easy to say, it's so easy to pay lip service to this kind of shit, really. We must actually start living it. And we must be a living love. That's what Paddy's been teaching me all of these years. And it isn't living a love with this person, or that person, or this game, or that drama, or it's just living love, because all of the love I feel lives here, where I am. It isn't about the object of my affection. It's about me. And the more fully I learn to live love, the higher my vibration, the more magical I feel. I'm becoming a unicorn just by living this love. My client today doesn't believe. She doesn't believe really in God. She doesn't believe in fairy tales. She doesn't believe in dolphins having intelligence. She doesn't believe that horses have the biggest heart chakras on the planet. She doesn't believe in unicorns or fairies or elves or pixies. She doesn't believe in anything that she doesn't see. But of course, she is a religious girl and she tells me she believes in God. And she pays lip service to that. And just in paying lip service to that, she is denying herself the experience of seeing and feeling and knowing God. And I was reminded of that wonderful old cliche, that there are none so blind as those who do not wish to see. Mindfulness is the art of setting aside your blindness. It's like removing your cataracts. And those cataracts are self-imposed. They are filters, judgments that you create for yourselves. No matter how you phrase it, you may say it's my past experience that has taught me this, and so now I am obliged to live that. You may say it's your value system. You may say it's how you've been raised, and this is your truth. But for as long as it is making you blind, you need to get rid of it. If it is distorting your clarity in any way, it is a cataract and you need to remove it. My god dog went blind before she died. And when she started to go blind, I made a rule in this house that nothing was to be moved. Nobody must move the furniture, because I didn't want her stumbling into anything. And for a while there, it made life easier for Paddy. But the universe, it moves. Everything changes. We can't make it stand still. We can't make it immovable. The only thing, really the only thing that is immovable in this universe is your mind. And once you have created that blind spot, once you have created that obstacle in your thinking, once you have reduced yourself to one little agreement within yourself that limits you from the full expression of who you are blind. You have cataracts. You need to remove them because you are limiting you. And in limiting yourself, every possible vibration that you are never comes into the full glory of being expressed outwardly. Your devotion to yourself is never fully lived. And it is so worth living. Almost every Thursday I come here and I tell you why this life is worth living. I tell you why being blessed is worth living, why being magical is worth living. And I sometimes feel like I am over-marketing it, and that if you don't already believe, then I should just come and visit you and slap you upside the head. That would be quicker, right? No, we know that that's not quicker because people have been beaten up for all sorts of things and they haven't learned a damn thing. But this is what I'm talking about. No matter what the universe does, no matter how the universe cooperates with you, no matter what vibration you're sending out and what you're manifesting all around you, no matter how many miracles you create and how many prayers are answered and how much Shiv dances right there in your own heart, if you have a cataract, you have a cataract. And you have to shift it. Free will applies. Let us meditate.